Hey everybody, welcome back. We're going to try to do a video on the rehab of the acrylic reindeer set that I just received today and do this in one continuous feed with stops along the way and see how it comes out. Just a reminder, so I'll show you what they look like. So here's the one lying down, and then this is the other one standing up. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to paint them black, and the reason why is because I like to start with one base color and then sketch out my check pattern from there. So we'll get that started. Okay, so these are painted black now. You're going to be amazed at what they look like and the difference so far. You can see right away, look at the contrast that just adding color, even though it's just black, what it does to the deer so far. So next we're going to look at laying out the check pattern and how that's going to be patterned out on both of them. So for the check pattern on reindeer, I like to do the underside of the deer only in the checkered pattern. And the reason why I like it that way is if you do the whole reindeer in check pattern, I feel like it detracts from the beauty of the deer. When you have a smaller area in the check pattern, you have the opportunity to add more gold to the contrasting black, and it really makes all of the colors pop, and you can really appreciate the true beauty of the animal. So when I say underside, I'm speaking of the part that would normally be white on the deer, the chest, under the face here, and then underneath the tail in the back. Now for this one, he's turning his head, so we're going to have to follow that line up here. We're going to follow it up and curve. And then the check pattern is you're going to find is going to twist with his neck as he's looking over his shoulder. And then for this one, we will do the checkerboard pattern all the way underneath, and we will come up the back side, and then we'll do a checkerboard pattern up to his tail. Okay, so let me stencil that out and let's see what it looks like. Okay, zooming in to show you, I usually just freehand these. I start with the center line as the main line going down. I keep it through to the very bottom, and then I make the squares approximately, I space them out about the same size as the width, so the height to the width, so that they look like squares. Now if you run across a point where you add too many lines or miss your spacing, just place a little X through it, and you can correct that when you start painting out your squares. So there's this one designed out. There's the back side. And then the standing deer, we can see he has a wraparound style with the check marks. And then this is going to come down all the way under his belly. It's going to continue through so that we can continue the pattern all the way up through the back side, because we will be able to see some of that, especially if somebody picks it up to admire it. So we want to make sure that it's continuous through the portion that you can see. Now we have the checks painted out on the underside and trimmed in vintage gold. That's my preference. And you can see already the colors starting to contrast against the black. And then here's our standing buck with the twist that I was talking about. All the way under, you can see how they flow to the back of the tail. And then you can just correct, like I said, in the front where I made that little error, I just corrected it when I was painting out the squares. So now what we're going to do is put gold on the antlers and gold on the hooves, and let's see what we've got. I am using folk art metallic vintage gold or antique gold to trim out and do the antlers. I love this color. There is a brighter gold. This is more of the brownish gold. Gives it more of a elegant look. Now, when you put your paint on, you're going to see that there's always going to be that underlying black. So if you want a brighter gold, you're going to paint it on white, a white base. But if you want a darker, richer, fuller luster, have a dark color underneath, preferably black, because if you pick a different color, it's going to affect the color of your gold coming through, the ultimate color. So you're going to have this distressed look. Now, what I do, this is 3 coats on this one. You can see it's still showing through. Still have a nice contrast though. And then this one has 2 coats. Again, you can see the black still. So what I like to do, you can keep painting and keep painting, but it's going to be a very long process. What I like to do is finish them out with a gold and antique gold gilding finish. So this one is in the form of a paste. I'll open it up so you can see. It's a paste, and then I finish it off with a sponge, and then of course in the smaller areas I am going to have to use a brush. So let's finish those over with a couple coats of gilding finish, and let's look at the difference. Okay, just a quick pause to show you as I'm working through the gilding. Look at the difference in the coverage. You can see how that gold is really going to pop against that black using the gold gilding finish. Here's the difference with the buck, the standing buck as well. So let me finish these out. All right, so here's what the finished antlers and hooves look like. And if you go over just a little bit, it's fine because we're going to distress out and highlight all of these areas and features on the deer. And then here is the one that's standing. And you can see how that gold really pops against the black. So what we're going to do to dust out, bring out the highlights, the ears, the nose, and the muscles and so forth. The same sponge that I used to apply the gilding finish, this is what I'm going to dry brush. I'm going to sponge over lightly everywhere, all over the deer, and try to bring out the angles, and that will add the final dimension. Alrighty, so dusting out the entire piece with the gold gilding finish really makes the piece pop. Here we have enough to kind of blend it in with the antlers and the gold trim in the checkerboard pattern. If you feel like you've placed too much gold, what you can do is take a small brush, dip it in your black, dab it off on a cloth, a dry surface, and then you're going to start in a dark area and then work your way in and cover the gold if you feel like you have too much gold, and that'll tone it down. And vice versa, if you feel like you need just a shade more gold, you can do the same thing with the brush. You can dip it in the gold gilding finish, dab it off, and then start in a darker area and then work your way out. All right, so there's the finished pieces. Aren't they adorable? And I just noticed in my excitement of unpackaging them that the antlers are a bit different. So they aren't really a pair per se. So I don't know if we'll be listing them as a set or not, but I hope you enjoyed following along through the rehab of these two pieces. They were a lot of fun. I'm going to finish them out with a clear coat, and then they will be ready to go for maybe Christmas in July.